Everybody, Jessie here, and coming to you with this month's video. I'm out at an area called Coxhull Gardens, and it's here in my hometown, my new hometown, Carmel, Indiana. And wanted to get out here. Ironically, today's a little bit cloudy and a little bit colder. We've been having this beautiful weather, and here we are starting to bloom everything and just be in that garden energy. I found it so appropriate because I kept putting this off and going, okay, I want to film later, and then finally came out this way, and not realizing that my timing that I was actually choosing unknowingly was related to the upcoming Earth Day and this beautiful new moon energy that we have. But a lot of times you'll find me, I'm out in nature and I'm filming in nature, and nature is such a huge critical part of our existence. So I wanted to share a little bit about the codes of nature. Now, of course, we have all different kinds. We have nature just in general, right? Like trees and plants and gardens and fountains and oceans and all kinds of different landscaping type of nature. Excuse me. And then we have various other types of nature, like we have true nature and we have our soul nature. And we think of that, our true nature being like our soul nature, our divine self, that side of ourself that is not wrapped up in the material world. And then we also have our human nature, which is our more human material existence. Then we have animal nature, which is that very reactive, instinctive type of nature. Excuse me. Something blowing through today that hit me all of a sudden when I started talking here. But I wanted to give you a little insight about what's behind this and how it connects, because our new moon is showing up almost on top of Earth Day this year. And that's kind of exciting, and that's kind of neat for this particular new moon. I shouldn't say this year, but this month. And that, of course, is the new moon that is going to be in Taurus energy. And we possibly might see another one coming up, but I haven't looked at all the planetary influences. But of course, Taurus being the very grounded earth energy. And so when we look at nature in general, what we find that nature brings in an energy of success, an earthly success. So when we talk about look to nature for understanding of things, nature becomes, through coding, telling us that it is an excellent guide for how to function in this world, how to function here on earth, how to function throughout this time, and function as the soul self here on earth. So it's not just how to be successful in the material realm, but it's how to function as your soul self. So when we observe nature, when we look at how the trees grow, when we look at when the plants bloom and how they bloom and their cycles and their rhythms and things like that, it's actually teaching us step by step how to do that functioning, how to be our soul self among this environment, among this realm that we're on, this planet that we're on. Now, what's interesting, and I always believe, like, our cycles with the moon, the new moon, the full moon, very powerful times throughout the month, and each one is its own little portal, you might say. And it's a portal that opens up and brings in energy for a certain period of time, for basically a 2-week period of time, from the new moon to the full moon. And then the full moon opens another portal and brings in the energy from the full moon down to the new moon. And when we look at those pieces, this particular new moon, as it interacts and comes in, what we have going on is an influence that is going to trigger probably a lot of things around around the earth, depending on which nature we're operating in. If we're operating under that true nature or human nature or animal nature, as the case may be. And when we look at these different components on things, we have some really big components, because those that are operating under the human nature, those that are operating under the animal nature, are actually going to start struggling. We're going to see those that are operating in a very reactive, it's almost going to start becoming like instant karma, because they are going to be at a weakened energy. And we're also noticing at this time that we need to be supportive to our animal society during this time, because it's going to be a very vulnerable period for animals in this period of time. So we might even see, because of some of the human aspects, our human nature actually connects with responsibilities that we feel. So when we come out and we're operating from a human nature, which is strictly an earth and not incorporating the soul self aspects, it's strictly functioning on earth. It's a responsibility pattern that we see come up in the codes. And when this happens and we interact it with this particular new moon energy that we have going on, we're going to see a lot of power disruption that's going on. So this means that we're going to see even more come out in some of the world leaders. We're going to see more things come out of people feeling their power threatened. But what's really interesting in this piece is how people are using their power. And nature is, again, such a big influence, but particularly with this full moon. And so if people are misusing their power, we're going to see people drop off of power positions, and we're going to see their power so-called weaken in a sense. It's going to create a lot of turbulence. So we're going to see a lot of turning over of power in a sense with this portal opening that's coming up. And then when we look at our soul self, now this particular new moon really connects in favor with the earth. And so where the earth has been destroyed, those people who maybe are abusing their power to destroy the earth, we're going to see some huge upheavals going on with those people, because this particular new moon, when we combine it with the Earth Day energy, what we find is Earth opens a portal of taking back herself, in a sense, of taking care of herself. And so this is going to be a really interesting, really, really powerful time, as we might find some upheaval around the earth, but at the same time, it's Earth reclaiming herself. And this is going to be interesting to see what world events come up as a result of this over the next 2 weeks. Now, those people that are living in their true nature, as we might say, their soul self energy here on earth, we're going to find a whole other interesting dynamic that's going on. And that soul self energy is connecting very well with this new moon energy that we have going on, because those that are able to stand in their soul self during the upheaval, during the processes that are going on, and operate from true nature energy, are going to start finding things completing in their life. They're going to start finding things where they can sit back and enjoy life a little bit more, where they can take a little rest and break before they start the new cycle on things. So that in some ways is a little bit different for new moon energy, because oftentimes we're starting new projects on the new moon. But for those operating in the soul self, it's actually more about resting. It's actually taking in. It's more about the receiving aspect than starting something new in things. So some very, very interesting energy, and I just really wanted to bring that up with the influences, with this being springtime and nature being such a big, big part of this time of year, and the sign of Taurus being a big part of this time of year, and how that's all connecting together in our world right now. So again, the new moon, what that does is it brings down, and I know I've talked about this in the past in some of my posts, is it brings down the energy not just from the universal workings, but from the multiverse. So this is like the really big picture stuff. This is beyond the universe stuff. And this is a huge culmination of everything working together. So what we want to really do during this period is to make sure that we're taking the time to trust what's happening, to stand in our soul self, because this is going to be a time where nature is going to say, I don't care about how much you earn. I don't care about how much you have or how much wealth you've acquired in this earthly world. Success is coming, and it's going to be my success. And it has nothing to do with money. It has to do with standing in that true soul self, standing in that true soul nature, being able to operate wisely. And I think this is going to be a big opening in these 2 weeks that are going to show us where things are operating wisely, where we are taking care of the earth and the animals, so to say, that are more vulnerable in this period. And that's going to be a big turning point to determine where power shifts in this world. So I hope you found this interesting, because I never know what's gonna, channel through me from month to month and what interesting connection is gonna be made. But hey, you can stay on top of all of my code work and things that are happening and my posts and, what I'm writing about and the information I'm sharing, all those things through my website, as well as connect with me on social media. I'm on Facebook, Jessie on Nichols George, Jessie on Nichols George, Coding Interpreter, Activating Compassion. Check out all of those different works, and my whole breadth of work you can check out at my website, www.compassioncodes.com. Take care, everybody. Until next month, see you later. Bye-bye.